Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Brendan Hauser with EVOQ Bike. We have an awesome episode today with Sarah Powers and Owen Schott. You probably already know Owen from previous podcasts. He's one of my boys. We've raced together. We've won jerseys together. Phenomenal dude, phenomenal coach. Owen, much love as always. Sarah is a newer cyclist. She's been riding for 3 years. She works with Top Buttons, which is doing amazing things for women, and you got to check out their website. And if you can, please donate or share their posts. They're doing phenomenal things. You'll hear more about that. But in order to bring some awareness to their mission, her, Sarah, and 3 other women have decided to do RAAM. So there's a really great story in this episode, but there's also, how do you go from not really riding a ton yet, getting the bug, and then saying, let's not do a Gran Fondo, let's go do RAAM. These women are badasses, and I just love the story. We are so pumped to have them on the podcast. Sarah and Owen, thank you so much for taking your time to share this experience. We'll be following along, and please go to their page, donate. Please share what Top Buttons is doing. Anything that we all can do to lend a hand to this mission, I think, is something we have to do. Let's do it. Enjoy the podcast. Good luck with your training, your racing. If you need help, hit us up. Let's go. So usually we just kind of start rolling, and we'll do some intros so everybody can get to know who everybody is here. I think some of the OG listeners will recognize Owen from Tales from the podcast and the episode we did. And then Sarah and I met through Instagram, and super pumped to talk about your mega, I'm going to call it an adventure, because this is just monumental what you ladies are doing. And then I think it'll be great to have some feedback from Owen as the coach. And Owen, are you coaching everyone or just Sarah, or how is that working before we jump into this?
Yeah, so I'm working with 2 of the ladies, Sarah and Kristen Coker, and then kind of trying to communicate with the other coaches that are on board, just making sure we're all on the same page, because there is a lot to it, and I think we'll probably dive into that. But yeah, it's trying to find that right balance. But I think everybody has the same goal, so it's like, well, however you get there, it can be done differently, you know.
So the other women have different coaches. Am I hearing that correctly?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is always interesting when there's different people, or even when there's a nutritionist that comes in and you're sharing calendars and they have plans. That'll be interesting to hear about. So, Owen, since you had the mic, do a quick intro for the few people that might not know who you are.
So, hi, I'm Owen Schott. Haven't had to do an intro in a while. I'm a cycling coach, just like Brendan, but I also do work with triathletes, runners. I've been in the endurance industry for, 25 years, owned a running store at one point. So just always been around the lifestyle and the activity. 5-time national champion for cycling, qualified for Worlds a couple times with the triathlon side of things. So yeah, just enjoy making people fast and fit right now.
Awesome. And Sarah, can you introduce yourself to everybody?
Absolutely. My name is Sarah Powers. I'm new to the sport of cycling. I'd say a little over 3 years now. Love it. Had I known that I love cycling for so long, I probably wouldn't have done anything else. I'm also the founder and CEO of Top Buttons, which is the nonprofit that we are doing Race Across America to support.
That's incredible. And that's how Sarah and I met, when she had said, hey, I've seen your podcast. This is Top Buttons. And I was looking into Top Buttons. Can you give us a rundown of what is Top Buttons? Because I don't want to, it's amazing from what I could gather from looking through the website and the Instagram, but I want to hear from you. What is Top Buttons? How did this start?
So 12 years ago, I was really trying to figure out how I could be a mentor and someone that really gave back to the community and encouraged young women. In my middle school, high school years, I had some traumatic life events and really went through some hard times like many individuals had. And I just needed somebody in my life to really support me during that season. And thankfully, I had a family and individuals in my life that helped me through some really difficult times. And so that was kind of the motivation behind starting Top Buttons 12 years ago, was how can I give back? How can I provide a positive resource to young women in this community. And fashion, using it kind of as a tool, like sports is used often as a tool to inspire young people and to connect with them and even equip them to be the best version of themselves. We use fashion as a way to do that, to connect with young women and provide them with desperately needed resources to help them put their best foot forward. So we became a 501c3 in 2012 nonprofit, and we provide confidence building, life skills education. That education piece is really important to young women, helping them know how to do job interviews and to present themselves in a way that's not going to limit their opportunities, but still help them express their own identity. You know, we don't want to put people in a box and make them look like robots or act like robots. So we provide the education, and then we also provide the resources. So clothing resources, which includes new undergarments and all the types of clothing that they would need for school attire, special occasion, job interviews, so professional attire as well. And then we have beauty bars in addition to our thrift stores. And so the beauty bars are used to help with haircuts, color correction, you know, anything that we can do to help with personal hygiene and training them how to really put themselves together, because we've got so many organizations that are helping them with education also, and that are helping them with housing and nutrition and different things that they need. They need that full compass of support. But the organizations that we partner with bring their girls to us to specifically help with positive body image, which is so important to self-esteem. So not to, you know, I could talk about top buttons all day, but we are working with girls that have been trafficked, they've been abused, they're experiencing unplanned pregnancies, individuals with disabilities, those that are in at-risk and vulnerable situations. And we serve more than 500 young women in our Central Florida community every year. And then Top Buttons is also launching affiliate programs in other places around the country. And so we have one located in St. Pete that is opening in the next month.
That is amazing. That is incredible. Kudos for all that you ladies have accomplished so far. I think for those of us in a more fortunate seat in life, we forget those basic things that you're talking about, of going to a job interview and personal hygiene. And it's, my husband does this thing called Laundry Love through our parish. And he said it's so eye-opening to all the things that we try not to take for granted. And it's clean clothes. So yeah, that rundown was awesome. How many women would you be working with, or does the organization work with at once? How big is Top Button?
Yeah. So we have the 3 thrift store locations. So like the Salvation Army, we're open to the public for public shopping, but the girls get everything for free. So the organizations who serve at-risk young women between 11 and 25 can bring their girls to us. So we serve, for instance, a young woman who's maybe been rescued from trafficking, and they bring her to us immediately. So we'll serve an individual. And then we also have large groups of girls coming to us. So, and then we'll sometimes close the store and do a serve day project all day where we have 30 to 40 young women at a time. But on average, we're having a session with like 4 to 5 girls. They're matched with a personal stylist, and we ask them questions. You know, how do you feel in that? Where are you going to wear it? What message do you feel like it sends? You know, we're just asking questions to make them think about it rather than trying to tell them what they need to wear and how they need to wear it. And we use peers to influence peers. So we have a lot of volunteers, a lot of young people that are involved, and it helps reinforce the right message in their eyes as well. And anytime you can get your eyes off yourself and see the needs in others, it's just reinforcing of those positive things in your life as well.
And for people listening that might be amazed by what you're talking about, I'm sure they can find contact info on the website, but do you actively continually take on volunteers? Is it all in real life, like people that would have to be in St. Pete or where you're located, or do you have people that work online in some capacity, or how does that break down?
That's a good question. We definitely have different ways that people can volunteer from all over. I mean, I would say most of the volunteers we have are local, but we have a really strong web presence with social media and with developing our educational curriculum. We are often looking outside of our local community, in addition to having individuals from our local community that help with curriculum writing, that are mental health counselors or social workers that see the needs and they want to be a part of the solution as well, not just just complaining about the problems that young people have, but how can we partner together to see the bigger picture accomplished.
That's amazing. Mega kudos. So cool.
You guys are great. Thank you.
Yeah. So my biggest question then was, wait a minute. So how are we tying this into RAM when someone,
Right.
obviously you are an ambitious individual. And then when you say, well, I've only been riding for 3 years, so I'm not going to do a Grand Fondo. I'm going to go do RAM. I'm going to race across the country. When did this spark? What's the connection? Give me this backstory. I'm dying to hear it.
Oh, well, I'm a little crazy. I feel like cycling is full of crazy people. So it's like we're all kind of like-minded. I think I found my home with so many individuals that like doing epic stuff, right?
Love it.
My background is in water sports, actually. I grew up in competitive kneeboarding, which was really cool in the 1980s and 90s. My grandfather ran a water ski school. Yeah, I don't know if people love it as much. They should. Kneeboarding is fun. But my grandfather ran a water ski school. So that's what I did. Like all growing up, I just was on the lake every day, all day, before school, after school. I competed and had sponsors. I won the Open Women's Kneeboarding World Championship in 1995 at 15 years old.
Cool.
Yeah, right. So some national records still standing. And, I'm 43 years old. So, it's been decades since I've done water skiing and anything like that. But it taught me a lot about myself, and that I like sports. I like extreme sports. I like the discipline of it. Hard work pays off. So that definitely plays into who I am. I am someone that likes doing what everybody else isn't doing. What's different, what's unique. I like endurance sports. I don't know that I'm the fastest for the short amount of time, but I might outlast you, and I like climbing. And so when I was running, actually a little bit after my 20s, I was really focusing on starting Top Buttons and family. I have 4 kids. And now my oldest is 20 years old. Then I have a 16 and a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. So they're in a season where I can now focus. Mom needs some focus on herself as well, right? And so I started running, and I really enjoyed that, but I was getting stress fractures. And I had a running friend who was like, Sarah, you need to get a bike. And I have to tell you, I was like, no, never. I will never cycle. I will never be a cyclist. So they wear the funniest outfits. Cyclists are weird, And out of desperation, I went and got a bike because I didn't want to go backwards in fitness, and spin bike indoor cycling was not something I enjoyed. And I did one ride outdoors in the dark at like 4:30 a.m. with a fast group of cyclists. And I was like hooked. And ever since then, I've been enjoying the path that I've been on with cycling. And yeah.
And so when did you and Owen meet? When have you both crossed paths?
Well, so with looking for what type of extreme event can we utilize to raise awareness and fundraise for Top Buttons, I was talking to a local cycling friend, Chaz Larici, who used to cycle, and Vance James, he still cycles. So they are my go-to individuals for all things cycling. And she said, I asked her, I said, I need a coach for this. Well, I'm not tackling RAAM without having someone that knows what they're doing and has the experience. And she said, let me ask a friend of mine and see if he does this type of coaching. And so she came back and said, yes, Owen would be interested in coaching you and does do endurance cyclist coaching. So that's how we connected.
And how long ago was that?
A year, maybe?
Yeah.
Has it been a year?
Yeah, and we're right on a year, and it was there's like a lot more connections to it because you had been working with Milton, and you knew you knew Tyrone, so she knew a lot of the running people like I knew, and I went to high school with, and so it was like this real small world. Like you've raced with Chaz's partner Vance before, Vance James.
Yeah.
Brendan, you've raced against him, so
Okay.
it's just kind of a
Yeah,
small community.
Totally. So, and then when you had said there are, how many people do RAAM? 4?
We are doing a team of 4 females.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of awesome, talented people that could do RAAM and represent Top Buttons well. But I really wanted, especially this first team, that it's a female team, and it very much parallels what we're doing in Top Buttons. You know, we have this ride across the country with mountains and valleys and different elements of weather and conditions, and it's going to be hard. And without a crew, there's no way we could do this in 8 days. Okay. And, you know, with the girls that we're serving, they need a support crew too. Yeah. You're
He's
looking
doing the
like,
math
oh,
in his
that's
head.
another.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait, how? Wait, okay. Sorry. You called me out and I was trying. People are like, Brendan, you talk too much in your podcast. And I want to be like, wait a minute, 8 days? No, this is good. This is actually a great. I need someone that talks because I get yelled at in the comments. I feel like you're such a horrible host. You talk too much. I'm like, I'm excited to talk to these people. Like, I love talking about cycling. So this is maybe not the right podcast for you.
No, that's
8
okay.
days? How far are we riding each day? Break this down.
Oh, and you break it down. You're going to do better at that. I'll chime in if needed.
Yeah, I mean, they do it all different types of ways, Brendan. Like, obviously, like you can go out, like you could go do it solo if you wanted to. You can do it. I was on a team of 2.
You did RAAM before?
No, I was on a team, and some things fell through last minute. But
okay,
yeah, so
maybe this is what we get into. Do we do RAAM together?
I know.
Well, we'll have to talk to Sarah. We might have to put a
Team
men's
Top
team
Buttons.
next year.
Team Top Buttons. Let's do
The
it.
male division.
The male division. But yeah, so you can do 4. I've worked with guys that have been on 8-man teams, 12-man teams, so there's all types of different variables. But the way we set it up for the women is, only one person's going at a time, and then they kind of have teams inside the team, that like, hey, they would go out and basically like they would rotate for an hour each. So one would go for an hour, the next would go for an hour. And so they would do that for about an 8-hour block. And then they go back to the main camper and they rest up and they eat. And then the next team is on and they're rotating hour on, hour off, and you can break it down 100 different ways. Like the one team I worked with that had, I think, 12 individuals. I mean, they were doing like 15-minute, 30-minute stints. You're just every 15
Quick.
minutes there's a new guy on, and same thing. But they would have 2 pods of teams where, the one can actually get the right amount of rest while the other one's working out. So, so there's a lot of different ways to skin it, But I think we figured this probably is going to work best. We've done a couple mock runs on it. They just had one this weekend where they went out and, they're out in the middle of nowhere, just riding around for hour on, hour off. And then they take their break and circle back and do it again. So,
okay. So sorry, I got to ask this question. When you're doing this practice, you were doing an hour loop. So the other 3 women are just chilling together and you're riding out and back to the same place. You're not going point to point, right?
They've done
So
it
we're doing the
ways.
loop, but we're all riding at the same time, just not drafting. Like we're all away from each other, but within eyesight.
Okay.
But they did a point to point, like the last one they did. They decided they're like, oh, we're going to ride to St. Augustine, and it was like, okay. So they did a little stint of that where they actually had a car, and so 2 of the girls would ride, and then after their hour, the next 2 would hop out of the car and they would ride. So we have to get creative with it. Like it's not the perfect scenario like they're going to be doing, and then the perfect scenario isn't going to be perfect either. Like there's going to be tons of variables. Like we were chatting today and it was like we're talking about dogs and this and that, and I'm like, well, this is going to happen. Like you're going to have to be ready for this.
So that was gonna be one of my questions. What are you 2 sit down, you're talking, hey, we're going to do RAAM. Hey, we got 4 women that are going to do RAAM. Hey, we're going to ride across the U.S. in 8 days. Where did the planning start? Are you looking at, I'm assuming they have a route that you have to follow, and you're looking at the topography saying, hey, this part of the West is the huge mountain day, so we're only going to ride this many miles? Or what was the big picture breakdown and these variables that you're talking about that might come up? Either one of you that wants to, what jumps into your head when you hear that?
Go ahead, Sarah, because I think from my perspective, it's a little bit, we have one other gentleman, Cameron, on board, and he's taking care of a lot of the logistics.
Yeah.
For me, it's just, how do I get them in the best shape of their life, with some type of okay, replication of what you're probably going to see. And, dealing with other teams in the past, I'm like, okay, this is what we've done. So that my approach is more like, hey, let's just get them healthy, fit, not burnt out by the time they show up, and then go from there. And so the logistics side of it is, I kind of told Sarah, I said, oh man, I don't know about that. I don't know if you could pay me enough,
Yeah.
that's hard,
So, Owen, we'll come back to those topics in a second. Then, yeah, Sarah, what are the variables that you were thinking of when you were planning this out with Cameron?
So I have really I have been focusing on fundraising, and I have really, leaned on Cameron and our assistant crew chief, Neil, to oversee logistics. I mean, we do know the route that everybody will be taking who is signed up to participate in RAAM. They'll update that course up until the last minute because there'll be small changes. We do know that, like, based on individuals who have gone across the country at a certain pace, we kind of have an idea of where we'll be on what day. We know that with 4 cyclists doing the math, there's 3,000 miles we have to cross from Oceanside, California to Atlantic City, New Jersey. And it's 170,000 feet of elevation. So divide that up by 4, you can kind of get an estimate on, I think it's like 700 to 800 miles per day on average. Obviously, when we're riding through the mountains, it's going to be less than that, or 700 to 800 miles per athlete for the entire week, not per day. Sorry. See, this is why I'm not in charge of logistics.
No. So you're doing a century every day of the week, basically.
Pretty much. Yes, that's accurate.
Whew.
Yes. So it's a lot.
Let's go.
It's a lot, however you look at it. Yeah, let's go is right.
That's going to be the thumbnail right there. 3,000 miles, 170,000 feet of climbing. Okay. So I can imagine all the variables that you're thinking of. Owen, what type of timeline did you have? Because I think this is one of the most beneficial parts for cyclists that are thinking to themselves initially, there's no way I could do this. You could. You have to be super motivated, like a woman like Sarah. Owen, what was the lead time that you had from when they first brought this up until when is RAAM?
June 15th.
June 15th. So how many months did you have, let's say?
We're about a year.
Okay. So you knew well, like last summer we're doing this.
Yeah. And again, I had worked with a couple other individuals before doing this, and I was like, okay, yeah, this can be done. And honestly, the first part of it was just, basic training. I was like, hey, let's just go to fundamentals. Let's just get you fit. Let's get you healthy. Knowing like, hey, this is going to be, I told her, I said, May, like, it's going to be hard. April and May is going to be really hard on you. And like right now, you want to go on a vacation in January, go. Like, you got family stuff going, go. But like, come April and May, you're in trouble. Like we're going to go to work, So yeah, we had a lot of time, we kind of built out a season and just said, hey, this has not a whole lot to do with RAAM, from a specificity type point of it. But it was just like, let's just go through a training cycle, and so we really worked on that, kind of did some tests and said, okay, yeah, your numbers are up here and there. We can work on these. And then, started to change gears a little bit as we got closer, and we started implementing some specific type efforts where it's like, okay, this is going to be your, one of your hell weeks, or this is going to be a training block where, we're going to do some emulation of what you're going to see, like, you're going to have to do an hour on and then get off the bike and just see what your body responds to. And so, and I think that's the crucial point is like, a lot of people can get in really good shape for this, but then they kind of forget about all the other stuff. It's like, well, what does your body, like for instance, for you, Brendan, like you're a training machine. Like, but I mean, have you gone and said, okay, I'm going to go ride an hour, then I'm going to go sit on the side of the road for an hour, then I'm going to go ride another hour, for 8 hours. Like nobody's ever done that, and like, what happens, does your body, and we were even joking this morning. She's like, yeah, it took me 5 minutes just to figure out how to get my radio unhooked so I could go to the bathroom, and I'm like,
female problems.
Like,
okay.
And so it's
easier for you guys,
but that's just one scenario, right? Like there's a tons of scenarios that like really are going to come into play. So I think that's where we're at kind of in the whole thing now is, the first season, we'll call it, I was just like, all right, I'm not worried about RAAM right now. Like, let's just get you fit, keep you healthy, keep you mentally like in a good place, make sure, everything's going right. And then as we get closer, just same thing. If there's going to be a build up and we're going to get some stimulation going.
So when you say just get fit, basic stuff like, hey, let's go through a base period, let's work on your endurance, let's do some threshold training, like a little bit of variety of everything so that they can tackle everything that they're going to see when they're riding across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was almost just like, I built out a marathon program or an Ironman program and just said, okay, here's what we're peaking for, or a season. And I think we did a couple power tests, and then I said, okay, you got 2 weeks off. And she's like, what? I've never taken 2 weeks off in my life, And I'm like, well, you got 2 weeks off, And I think we might have came down to about 12 days or 11 days. It was hard to,
Yeah, I threw in another trip there, but it was a cycling trip.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
to Colombia.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It was amazing, Brendan.
Tons of climbing, great weather. How are the roads there?
They climbed the highest mountain in the world.
We did climb one of the longest climbs in the world. The cycling was amazing. We worked with Movich Cycling. Well, Cameron of 3R Cycling, our crew chief, organized and facilitated the trip. Okay. And our entire RAAM team went down there together. And it was just great to do some mountain climbing, some team building. And we did climb De La Trace, which is considered the third longest climb in the world. And it's 50 miles of climbing and over 12,000 feet of elevation. Yeah. And we all did it in approximately 6 hours. One of our team members did it in 5 hours and 25 minutes, Jackie Harrison. So we've got some climbers and some serious endurance athletes on the RAAM team.
Let's go, Jackie. Kudos.
Yeah.
Dang.
Know, right?
So that's amazing. So what's Cameron's connection? Well, I guess we should have had him on the podcast. What's his connection to Colombia?
So he is a cycling event facilitator. And so he is organizing these trips to other places and has a relationship with Movich Cycling. So I think that's how it came about. Yeah.
Movich?
Yes. And what's so cool is like, I guess Mark Cavendish and his team was there like not too long before us and had the same bike mechanics that we're working on our bikes. And I mean, they were just fantastic in every way. So we had support vehicles. Even when we're climbing, we had this like superstar De La Trace. I know I'm saying it wrong. They're going to murder me when they hear me saying this. But he's like he rides it on a bike. He has the Guinness Book of World Records. It's called the Sherpa. Of doing it. He just did it 4 times. Oh, I'm going to botch this. He's done it 3 times in 24 hours and 4 times, I believe, in 36 hours. And so he's on a motorbike, though, helping us and like doesn't speak any English. So I'm trying to communicate with him. And basically, what's the word for dead? That was the word I was trying to say to him.
Muerte?
Yeah.
Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. As we're climbing all the way up to the top. But he's playing his Spanish music. It was very fun, very motivating. We felt, empowered. I mean, that's empowering when you have people saying, we believe you can do it. It's really hard, but you've put in the work. You can accomplish this, and we're going to help you get there. So really thankful to have that type of support, not even just for Colombia, but with Cameron as crew chief, really helping us accomplish this goal. Because the logistics it's insane. The team building piece, the crew, we have 10 crew members. We've got a medic, we've got a cook, we've got an RV driver, we've got a PT massage therapist, we've got a media person, we have a bike mechanic, several drivers, navigators. Everybody doubles as a driver or navigator. I mean, we have quite the team put together.
What's the cost to do RAAM? What's the entry fee? And then what's the cost, do you think, estimated for a crew? Yep. I've never considered this. Oh, and I'm out, by the way, for RAAM.
Oh, wait, what? You're out?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, this is a lot of logistics. We need,
No, you don't have to worry about the logistics. You just get to ride your bike. Okay. I'll take care of that for you.
There you go.
So it's about $50,000 in expenses, and that's on the low side. So as a nonprofit, that is a big venture for us. I typically do about 30 to 50 grand for an event per year to raise money for Top Buttons. So it's not out of line, but this isn't an event that everybody can come and we have a speaker and they sit and hear about the mission. So it's a different type of event for us. But I do believe that we have this unique opportunity to raise awareness in a greater way than ever before. The RAAM media team, they have their own media team. So, and there's an international following of this. So we do feel like Top Buttons is going to get a lot of good kind of attention over this, which I'm excited about, as well as hopefully a lot of money raised for our programs of Top Buttons. So it's about 50K. 9,000 of that is the event registration.
Wow.
And then each crew member we estimate is about a $2,500 expense. And these are individuals who are volunteering their time. They're not being paid for the work that they're doing outside of our crew chief and the media person. But, most everybody is taking time away from family. They're volunteering with their expertise to help us reach our goals. And a lot of them cycle too. And they don't get to ride their bike. So it's a massive sacrifice. And I don't take that for granted. I feel very blessed that they see the bigger picture and want to help us achieve our goals. Our overall fundraising goal for Top Buttons for our programs is to raise a net of 100 grand. So all the expenses have been covered by sponsors, local businesses, or businesses in the state of Florida who have connected through their passion with cycling and they own the business or whatever. And they say, we want to support the cause. And then they get sponsor benefits and recognition. But all those expenses are covered, which I'm super thankful for. So now all the money raised will go to Top Buttons.
That's awesome. So let's talk about that real quick. And I know you'd sent me some links that we'll put in the show notes for people that want to fundraise, or excuse me, that want to donate to the mission. So is it obviously financial? Does the donation go through RAAM, or does it go to you? Or what links will we be posting so people are familiar with what they're looking for?
Absolutely. They're going to be able to donate straight to Top Buttons.
Okay.
And so we have a web link on our website. There's a events page, and you go to the RAAM page and you can see info on RAAM, why we're doing RAAM, how it connects to the mission of Top Buttons, and how they can donate. So they can donate a one-time gift or, of any amount, and every penny counts. So we're super thankful. And they'll also be able to see the thermometer for how much we have raised in total. But yeah, it's going to go to the programs, which I described earlier on the podcast, supporting the young women in our community.
Okay. And then also, when you're looking for more awareness, if people want to share what you all are doing, are you trying to get more people to your website, to specific pages? Or if someone's thinking, hey, I can't financially contribute to this, but I want to raise some awareness, what's the best thing for people to share online, socially, maybe on Facebook, Twitter, etc.?
Yeah. We have Instagram, a Top Buttons Instagram account, and Facebook Top Buttons main account. And we will be doing some live streaming during RAAM. So we're planning to do 8 a.m. in the morning and 8 p.m. with updates on, weather conditions, who's on the road, what challenges we've faced, how much money we've raised, that kind of thing. So individuals can share our pages, our Instagram and our Facebook, and help others, listen in and hear about our journey and what we're doing. On the website, that's the best place probably for all the information. We also are selling our Race Across America kits. So individuals that want to support in that way can also wear the kit. It's beautiful. We purchased the artwork from a designer out of England, and it's beautiful. It's like showcasing the countryside. It's inspired by Race Across America. So that is also an option. And then we do have a local Gears for Good event that we do annually. And so that will be in November. So if somebody says, hey, I would like to support by coming to your local event, that information is on our website, topbuttons.org, as well, under our events page.
That's awesome. So yeah, everybody who's listening, at least the smallest thing you do is go share a page, send it to somebody who's maybe even wants to get involved financially. If you can't, let's try and help them hit their financial goal, because this is so mega. And then, and I'm thinking back, another question I had for you is, so what's your thought, big picture, of when someone is trying to do 7 days, 8 days back to back to back? What do you, when you had mentioned like a hell week, what's some tips maybe for other riders who are thinking, I want to go get mega like this? Maybe they're not doing RAAM, but they want to do some big rides. Some of these gravel events are even 200 miles in a day, etc. Do you have them do a lot of back to back days, or what's like a key session or sessions that you've found beneficial for the previous groups that have done things like this?
Yeah, so I've been pretty fortunate because I've had excellent coaches. Even you were one of them, and I believe you actually turned me on to this. And you, I believe your term used to be called an overreach week, where we would really just kind of go after it, and it's like, hey, give me everything you got, so then we can super compensate from that, and then come back down and start to sharpen lead into that main vent or whatever. So yeah, I mean, dude, I just think there's so many different ways to go at it. So to say there's like one specific way, I think the biggest thing I see with most athletes is they don't rest correctly, or they don't take advantage of the growth. And I think a lot of athletes I bring on, or I get from somewhere else, it's like, oh yeah, you're doing the work, like you're busting your tail, but then when it comes to that adaptation phase or that recovery week or whatever we want to call it, like they don't really turn the body off. They're not like shutting down, and they're still doing a million other things. And I'm like, well, how are you supposed to get stronger? Like, the rest piece is how you grow. And so that would be my biggest thing, is to throw at anybody, is like, dude, you just, because then, you've seen it, Brendan. I mean, all of a sudden they're mentally burnt out, they're injured, and it's like, they just don't want to do it anymore. Life at home sucks, and it's like, dude, go take a week off, or go on a vacation with with your spouse, and just don't think about it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that's probably the biggest thing, is like, yeah, we can talk about crushing all these miles and these killer workouts, but at the end of the day, I don't think people are recovering properly, and it's more of just the down part of it, not necessarily like, oh, sleep more, eat good, go get your massage, things like that. Those are key, but I think people compensate, and they're like, oh yeah, I get a massage all the time, and then I'm like, yeah, your workout the next day sucks too. So, anyways,
No, it's a good point. I think I've definitely had an athlete that also just looked to Training Peaks as the end all be all, and had a bad event that we had been preparing for months. And when we did the breakdown after, he had said, in probably the 6 weeks before, I was just slugging through the workouts. And I was thinking, man, that is the biggest red flag ever. Why didn't you tell me that the first week when you started feeling, hey, I'm not having fun doing this? This is not, because I'm on the other side of the computer thinking, man, he's crushing this. He's doing well. Like, oh, that one you missed, but I don't pick up on you feel badly. All I see is power numbers and heart rate, So I think the lack of communication, sometimes people think, oh, well, it's in Training Peaks, I got to do that. The feedback is so crucial. And so that goes with the not resting enough, as you're saying. It's got to see the whole picture in training. I think it's interesting too, Sarah, you had made a comment when we were going back and forth in email a little bit of, it's super stressful with fundraising and time consuming with increasing my training, but still amazing. Can you go in on this a little bit? Because you're obviously a very busy person and managing a lot of things in life, and now trying to prepare for RAAM when it can be so hard to not find, but make the time to train. What have been some things that skills you've picked up, or something you could pass along to other listeners who are saying, I don't have time for this? What do you say when you hear something like that?
I have learned to get involved in decisions that I need to be involved in, and then let stuff go that I don't need to be involved in. Time is so valuable, especially when I'm running a business and, wife, mom, all the things. And then let alone, I mean, what am I at? Like 17 to 20 hours of training a week, Owen? So, I mean, Yeah, I've added a part-time gig, and but not only that, then the RAM logistics and, making sure that people understand the mission and the importance of why we're doing it. I mean, what a privilege to get to do something I love while supporting the cause that I care about. And I am just super thankful. But as far as like a good example, the coaching is concerned, like I haven't been in cycling very long, but even if I had, I think I would recognize the fact that I'm not a coach and I don't want to be a coach. And I don't want to, sometimes I probably need to ask more questions, but I'm just trusting that I've hired somebody that knows what he's doing. He has RAM experience and he's trained a lot of athletes and endurance sports in particular. And so if he says, this is what I need to be doing, I'm going to do it. Now, I can also have great communication and I do give him feedback. It's usually long audio messages. When I'm driving and, just sharing how I'm feeling, like perceived effort. And, but I have been very pleased with the progression. And I'm one of those people that probably could be a problem athlete because I need cycling for mental health. So, I get my aggression out on the road rather than my children who I love. But it's been, so for me to take a rest was something that I remember Chaz was telling me, Sarah, you're gonna have to listen to Owen and not ride hard every ride. But now I enjoy my rest days because I see the progress and I love seeing the data and the progress. You don't always see progress in business. You don't always see progress in parenting, although we know there's progress there. But I can see progress in cycling. It's amazing. So I am very thankful for the people that have joined this team and are helping in different capacities. And I very much want to rely on them for the jobs that I've hired them to do and be cyclists and be fundraiser and then, let others fill in the gaps. And they're doing a great job. I mean, we certainly have had challenges and things we've had to navigate that have been hard. But overall, it's just a remarkable journey that we're on.
What's next after RAM? Dare I ask that?
I love that you asked that. I told Owen, I was like, okay, after RAM, I'm going to need something. So I have to meet with you before RAM to talk about the next epic adventure, the next epic goal. When we were in Colombia, the girls on the team, we were talking about it. Man, we just did one of the biggest climbs in the entire world. We should do all the biggest climbs in the entire world. That might get expensive.
That's expensive, but if you need a men's division for that, we are in.
Yes.
It
would be epic.
I can't keep up with Owen on the climbs, but I will lag behind and cheer for him, and then I'll be a few minutes down, maybe 20 minutes down, depending on how long the climb is. But yes, we're in for that for sure. So this has been really helpful to understand for athletes how they can even start to think about biting off something this big. I think I love what Top Buttons is doing. I think maybe because I have three sisters, or there's just something that really resonated with me when I looked through your page and just doing an amazing mission. Is there anything that either of you from the training side or the Top Button side that you wanted to get across to everybody listening that maybe we missed? Because I definitely took a lot from this in both aspects, but maybe we missed a topic that you wanted to hit on. Anything from you, Sarah?
I've had people ask, like you asked, why RAM? How does that really connect? And, obviously as the founder, I mean, I love that it's something that I'm passionate about, but it's also unique. I mean, nonprofits, we have to make money to do what we're doing. And volunteerism is important. Clothing donations, people donate clothes like crazy. Thank God for that, because that's part of the resources that we're giving to girls. But we have to raise money. But I love the opportunity to be able to spread the word to a whole different community of people. And every time I talk about it, people are supportive. And, sometimes I worry maybe I'm talking about it too much, but I'm passionate about the work that we're doing because we see the impact. I mean, we have one young woman, I'll tell her story briefly. And I share her story a lot because it's really special to me. We had Abigail come to us through a local organization called Girls Inc. And she came to our educational events. She came to our styling sessions. Then we had her as a model in our fashion shows, at our educational events. So she's now influencing the peers that we're also serving. Then she became a volunteer in our organization, and then she became staff. And now she's at college and she's recording, a music worship CD with her peers. And it's just incredible to see the hardships that she overcame, that she dealt with, being displaced and not having a vehicle and not having the same supports that I had when I was going through hard times. But to see when she had a support crew, when she had people helping her on her journey, her journey was transformed. And not to be cliche, but that's what we're riding for. And so I just want that message to be clearly received, that we're in it. We love cycling and it's fun, but we're in it for the bigger picture. So, yeah.
That's amazing. Owen, any final parting words for all the cycling nuts out there?
Yeah, I think it's funny that we sit here and we've been talking about all this, and sometimes we go down these holes and it's like, oh, what workout and the training peaks and everything. And I think you just nailed on it, Brendan. It really is. It's kind of more of the relationship, and I had to stop and think and like, man, this is, I think, why Sarah and I have done really well, and why she's seen a lot of the progression and stuff like that, is because we do kind of have an open dialogue, and we do communicate well. And I think I stopped and thought about like the athletes that I have had that like have really, excelled and done well, is like, we've all had really good relationships and open communication. And so I think that's a great point for us to touch on, is, if you are trying to conquer something like this, or as small as whatever, a 5K, like, probably communicating with your coach as best as you can on it. It doesn't have to be everything, and I'm not saying, they need to know all the details, but I think as a coach, you would probably appreciate this, is like, you're in tune with what's going on. And even if it's just a quick audio, it's a 3-minute audio thing. And it's like, I love listening to audio. I retain that way, and it's easy. So yeah, I would say my big push is like, hey man, like if you're not communicating with your coach now, or you don't even have a coach, like here's an opportunity just to have a sounding board, and how many times have I reach out to Brendan every 2 weeks and I'm like, hey dude, what do you think about this? And it's just like, he's like, yeah, man. And, and we get all excited again. And so sometimes I would like to correlate that and just like, hey, that's important, really. And I think that's why she's doing so well, is balancing everything out. But it's like, hey, I got to let my coach know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. You bring up an awesome point that I'll end on, is just that also I think verbalization, or just getting out how you're feeling when you're forced to do a write-up with somebody. Like for my coaches, I'm usually thinking, okay, what were the highlights of that ride? Just as you said, I don't need to give him a novel because I want him to read through it all, but what were the bullet points? And then it kind of reinforces in my head whether it was a good ride, a bad ride, because when I'm the athlete doing all my own workouts, it's so easy to get lost in the few days. I'm thinking about the few days I just did. I'm thinking about the few days forward. You have a few bad days and all of a sudden I'm thinking, I suck at this. What am I doing? Da-da-da. And then your coach is there, dude, you hit a PR 10 days ago. You're having a little mini slump. Wait, what are you worried about? It's like, oh yeah, okay, whew. Glad I verbalized that and had someone with a different set of eyes looking at my training. So yeah, it's just communication is huge. I think especially now with all the metrics, we've had a few podcast guests recently that all come back and start talking about RPE again. Just how did it feel? And I still give athletes, I've actually a bunch of them today, that it's like, hey, go do 4x8. What feels really hard? That you can get through the whole thing, because every day it's not going to be the exact same watts. And that's when you have breakthrough rides, when you're just like, oh my God, I think I feel amazing today. And you don't let the metrics hold you back. So it can help us, but it can also hurt us. So that's my soapbox. Thank you both for coming on and talking about this. I love this. Yeah. And Sarah, we'll be following along. So everybody, definitely go share the Instagram page. If you can financially contribute and donate, please, as she said, even $5 makes a huge difference. If we all contributed $5, that would be amazing. Follow along. So June 15th, it starts. You'll be done 8 days later. That I don't know. In my head, I thought it was going to be longer than that. And yeah, best of luck with the training. Owen, keep them on their toes. And thanks everybody for tuning in to the podcast. And we'll talk to you soon. See ya.